I love basketball, and in my entire life watching it, playing it, glazing it, I have never once seen anything like Victor Wembanyama. I have never seen a combination of that stature, competitive intensity, three-point shot, passion, tween hezzy, rim protection, and the insane ambition all in one player. His game is a spectacle to watch, but his mind is what is making the NBA feel alive again. We have heard all the complaints about the state of the NBA today, and it feels like Wemby is just shutting them all down. Wemby is great for the NBA, for now. I used to think Wemby could one day potentially become the GOAT, but I couldn't predict it with confidence because what if the Spurs organization just sucked at building a team around him? But only 3 years into his career, I feel like there's a chance where that doesn't even matter. Every stat, traditional or advanced, points to Wemby being the closest thing to a one-man team we've ever seen. And I don't mean he will be one day, I mean, he is right now, in his 3rd season. It feels like we've all accepted he's going to be the greatest defensive player ever, but I believe there's a realistic world where he becomes the greatest offensive player ever, too. People rave about Wemby's potential. Will he be top 10 all time? Top 5 in the GOAT conversation? And yet, even this amount of praise is underselling it, in my opinion. What if he's just the most unstoppable player in sports history? What if we are watching someone so good that he completely rewires how we think of team sports? A player so good that I could see single-handedly making his team unbeatable for years and years. This is the first video on this channel, so let's lay down 3 rules. Fuck Stephen A. Anybody who loves ESPN, likes silly Twitter narratives, and is constantly hating on players, please get out. I love basketball, and on this channel, we appreciate greatness. We slander players when it's necessary, but I'm not spreading negativity 24/7. 2, brain rot equals nerdy shit. They go hand in hand. I'm just as much as an advanced stat YouTuber like Jimmy High Roller and Nerd Sesh as I am a silly one like Hef and the Deep 3. Expect funny but dorky videos. And for the final rule, the journey will be logged. This is where it starts. I'll have 10K by the end of the playoffs. You should comment to help me with the algorithm. Now, back to Wemby. Throughout NBA history, there has been many faces of the league. Magic and Bird, MJ, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron and Steph. There are 3 things that all of these players have. They're all-time talents, they're the leaders of a dynasty, and people love them. Some players are great enough to be the faces, but weren't really the biggest personalities. Some players are loved, but weren't great enough to get all the rings. But what if your game was so mind-blowing that you just break those rules? What if you are so good, so quick, that it's too difficult to look away? What if you are 7'6" and it's just physically impossible for you to not cover everyone's screens? If you asked me last year who was the face of the NBA, I would have either still said LeBron or said that there is no face. But only a year later, and it is clearly Wemby. So how did we get here? To answer that, we need to go back to the breaking news.
San Antonio Spurs star Victor Wembanyama will be out for the remainder of the season after being diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis, which is a blood clot in his right shoulder.
Wemby is at a crossroads. Everyone knows his potential. Everyone knows this man could go down as one of the greatest players the NBA has ever seen, and it seemed like the only thing stopping him was injuries. We have never seen a player as big as him consistently stay healthy, and here we are in his 2nd season where an injury had removed him from what would be a unanimous defensive player of the year. So in the darkest moment in his young career, what did he do? He visited the Shaolin Temple in China. Monk Wemby, Kung Fu Wemby, Wemby is bald. A lot of people made memes about this and found it funny, but really this was Wemby training. This was all for his body, and it was the beginning of what felt like an album rollout. He was doing so many things this summer, and it was getting me hyped for Wemby's return. He linked up with Kevin Garnett. He got stronger. He worked on his footwork with Hakeem. He was the first alien to visit NASA. But we've seen players create hype during the offseason, and a lot of times, it don't mean shit. And as a Wemby Glazer, I was preparing people for disappointment. He hasn't played a game in 8 months. Let's take it easy on him. Let him get back to himself.
Take the reverse!
What the fuck did I just watch? It still doesn't seem real. Like, what is this? Poor Cooper Flagman. His first game got overshadowed by this. What is this sorcery? And this would be the first of many iconic moments that would make Victor Wembanyama the main character of the NBA. OKC have the greatest 25-game record in NBA history. Let me just ruin that on a minutes restriction and then do it again. Actually, 3 times in front of your home crowd. Merry Christmas. And he would shit talk them while doing it. Bald Wemby going back and forth in the clutch with Ant was just cinema. And then we get to the first time I realized Wemby had become the main character, the All-Star Game. Now, I personally don't think the All-Star Game issue was ever that important, but Wemby made me realize, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong, because that was fun as hell. This was the first play.
NBA All-Star Game is underway, and Team World has it first. So 12-minute game.
And that's the thing about Wemby. He seems to be aware of every issue the average fan has with the NBA and says, I got y'all. Nobody's playing hard in the All-Star Game? I got y'all. Tired of boring players who don't show their real emotions? I got y'all. No stars in the dunk competition? I got y'all. No rivalries in the NBA anymore? I hate Chet Holmgren with every fiber of my being. He's just so fun for the league, and you can tell how refreshing it is because people love him. The other day, he made his case for the MVP, and I know damn well if anybody else did that, people would have crucified him. But we love Wemby, so we love that. When he cried, we were like, oh my god, he's so passionate, because he is. But you remember how people reacted to Pat Bev? My favorite moment from Wemby this year was when he called out what ICE did in Minnesota.
PR has tried, but I'm not going to sit here and give some politically correct, you know.
The willingness to not give boring PR answers is something I've been begging for from players for so long. And then like 2 weeks later, the all-Israel first team shows up out of nowhere. The new generation is here. That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT! Wemby loves art, and you can see that side of him come out when he talks about the game. One side of him gives me Steph Curry and OKC vibes with how much fun he seems to be having when he plays. But the other side of him gives me the Michael Jordan, Kevin Garnett, ultra competitor vibes that we basketball fans love so much. Outside of the players on my favorite team, Wemby is my favorite player in the NBA. He is such a breath of fresh air. He is part of why this season has been the most fun season since 2016 in my opinion. He is already the face of the league, something I can only say that 2 other players in NBA history were before their first ring, and those 2 were the 2 GOAT candidates. MJ was just too iconic. In my opinion, he took his place on the throne in 1990, in his 8th season. LeBron was clearly the best player in the league, just waiting for his turn. He took the throne as the face of the league in 2011, in year 9, even though he lost in the finals. You could argue whether or not this exact year is right, and that's fine. My point here is, none of them, not even the 2 best players in NBA history, were the faces of the league in year 3. None of them were this good, this fast. Not even close. He's a goddamn MVP candidate already. All year I've just sat and enjoyed watching Wemby's greatness, but recently I hit a point where I really realized what the hell was going on. Despite Jokic being at his peak, who is maybe the greatest offensive player we have ever seen, and Shea, who's having a top 5 guard season in my opinion, there is this 22-year-old who might be better than both of them already.
That's my guy right here. Best player in the world, MVP. If anybody else got anything to say, come holler at me.
This is Felix Wembanyama, and unfortunately for the future of NBA competition, he did not pull out. Remember how not excited you were leading up to the 2017 and 2018 playoffs when everyone knew what was going to happen? I think there will be a stretch in Wemby's career when he's at the peak of his powers, and he alone will carry his team to this level of dominance. Not because Kevin Durant signed on his team, not because he's going to create a super team, but because his impact alone is that powerful, and it might be happening sooner than we think. I know what you're thinking. Stop glazing. Nobody can be that good. It's a team sport. Well, let's look at some teams then. The Portland Trailblazers, 76ers, Warriors, and Magic. What do these 4 teams have in common? They are the epitome of mid. Why do I show you these teams? Because they all have a net rating with a 0 in it. Plus 0.2, 0 on the dot, minus 0.3, and minus 0.8. And here are the Spurs when Wemby is off the court. Minus 0.4. They are losing their minutes without him. As impressive as this is, we have seen this before. Carrying a team that is losing the minutes when you're not on the court is Jokic's job at this point. But Jokic would take his bad team and make it a good team. And Wemby takes his bad team to the best team in the league, as the Spurs have the best net rating in the NBA when Wemby is on the court. In fact, they have a historic net rating. For those who don't know, a net rating is the amount of points your team scores per 100 possessions, subtracted by how many points you give up. So where do the Spurs rank when Wemby is on the court? Top 50 all time? Top 30? 15? How about first by a lot. Those Warrior teams with Kevin Durant peaked at plus 11.6, which ranks 4th all time. When Oscar Robertson and Kareem teamed up, they had a net rating of 11. The highest net rating of all time is still the 96 Bulls with a net rating of 13.4. When Victor Wembanyama is on the floor, the Spurs have a net rating of plus 17. Let me say that again. When he is off the court, they are as good as the 2026 Warriors. And when he is on the court, they are by far the most dominant team in NBA history. This is in the same season where he was coming off the bench and playing minutes with those units. His second best player is not even a top 30 player in the league. And this impact is mostly because of his defense. Because at the same time as the OKC Thunder are cementing themselves as one of the best, if not the best defense in the modern NBA, the Spurs are 4 points better than them in Wemby's minutes. For context, that is the same gap between the 4th best defense in the NBA and the 20th best. In my opinion, it's hard to make a case that he isn't a GOAT defender already. Their defensive rating is 103 when he's on the court, which is 12 points better than league average. The biggest gap in NBA history, more than the 60s Celtics who won 11 championships with bad offenses. He only has one other great defender on his team, and again, he is in his 3rd season. That is the scariest part. If he just develops like normal, Wemby will be entering his prime in 4 years. What is that gonna look like? It's hard to believe he gets much better defensively, but what is Wemby's ceiling offensively? Even now, I think he is underrated offensively. When Wemby's on the court, his team has the 2nd best offensive rating in the league. He's still far from an elite offensive player, but he can contribute to an elite offense because of how teams have to guard him. You have to have a guy being extremely physical, pushing him out the paint when he doesn't have the ball, and a help defender roaming behind him at all times. The gravity he generates makes it so easy for his teammates to get open looks. As Wemby said the other day,
Offense impact is not just points.
and even then, it's not like he's some average scorer. People assume this because he's only averaging 23 points, but this is on a minutes restriction for a lot of the year. If you adjust Wemby's stats to 36 minutes per game, he would average 30 and 14, and that's with clear flaws in his game. His ball handling isn't the best, he's not very strong, so he can't blow by defenders consistently, his 3-point shot is streaky, but seeing his mentality, I would be shocked if he doesn't improve on or even remove all of these flaws. The only flaw of his I don't feel confident he will ever be great at is his passing. But you don't have to make any Jokic level passing reads once he starts getting doubled every play. Wemby will have a run of seasons where he's averaging 30 plus while leading the league in offensive rebounds on insane efficiency. Combine that with the gravity he provides and tell me that's not at least in consideration for the greatest offensive player. As a bronzexual and a Jordan Glazer, there's no nostalgia bias I can have that can argue against GOAT level offense and GOAT level defense in the same player. That's just the GOAT. This is why I could see this Spurs team being insane, because right now he is carrying a mediocre team to 60 plus wins, carrying so hard that nobody would be shocked if they won the finals as early as this season. What are teams gonna do when Dylan Harper ascends, when Stephon Castle reaches his peak? What if they actually surround Wemby with consistent shooting? What happens when the Spurs start winning the minutes without Wemby on the court? And I feel it in my bones, Wemby is definitely the type to take a pay cut to build a better team around him. It's absolutely terrifying for the league. I'm not gonna sit here and predict it because injuries are a concern, but there's a real world where the Spurs win 4 chips, maybe 5. Maybe they're the greatest dynasty ever outside of the 60s Celtics. There's a world where we aren't asking if Wemby is the greatest basketball player ever, but instead if he is the greatest sports player ever. And honestly, if he doesn't get there, I'd be shocked if it wasn't because of injuries. People love Wemby, but there might be a time where they turn on him, because fans tend to get tired of seeing the same person win over and over. You can already see some people a little annoyed with his press conferences. I already hear the "he's not that good, he's just tall" narratives here and there. It's just whispers for now, but if Wemby is as dominant as I think he can be, those are going to be a lot louder one day. As of right now though, most people don't feel this way. He's still new to us. He is the most fun player to watch. I love Wemby. Watching his love for basketball sometimes reminds me how much I love basketball. I love watching him play, I love how he conducts himself off the court, and at this current moment, so do most NBA fans. But my advice to those fans would be, enjoy it while it's fun and competitive, because it might not be for much longer.